Yes, guys, welcome to a brand new presentation. My name is Conan, and today we're going to be talking about the magic of consistency. So people always ask me like, hey, Conan, what's the key to success? Or how did you grow such a big audience on social media? Or how did you build your current physique? And when people ask me this question, like I really try to come up with like more of like a sexy answer of like, oh, do this secret thing or do this method or whatever it may be. But when I really sit down and break it down, like it really comes down to just being consistent, doing the simple, basic things over and over and over again for a consistent period of time, because you guys can probably attest to this right away. It's like, okay, well, how do you get a six pack? Let's say you're overweight right now and you want to get a six pack. You know deep down that if I give you a meal plan right now that are specifically tailored towards you and your specific goals, like you got your calories and macros, whatever, you know deep down that if you just follow that meal plan for one day, that you're not going to wake up the next morning and see your six pack abs, right? Unfortunately, that is not the case. You know that you're going to have to follow the meal plan at least for a couple months to see some results, right? If not a couple years. Same thing with like building muscle. It's like, you know that if you follow the best workout split ever, that just doing that for maybe one day or for 1 week, that you're not gonna look like Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger the next day. Like it does not happen, right? You're gonna have to do the basics for a consistent period of time. And this usually means months and years on end. If you look at any pro bodybuilder right now, there's nothing that they're not doing that you probably aren't doing right now, right? Like you're just doing the basics, they're tracking their food, they're lifting weights, they're progressively overloading, they're getting their sleep in, but they've just been doing it for years and decades. That's the only difference, apart from like, of course, all the drugs that they're taking, but that's a discussion for a whole different topic. But let's dive into today's presentation. So I know what I said, consistency may not be a super sexy or glamorous answer to the keys to success, but it is quite literally the bedrock of any successful fitness journey. And here's why staying consistent is more powerful than you may actually think. So the first thing why it is so important is to help build the habits necessary to not only get the results you want, but to keep the results. And so the more we repeat a certain action, let's say it's going to the gym or eating healthy or getting our steps in or getting enough sleep in, the more ingrained it becomes to us, right? And over time, what's so cool about this is that once something does turn into a habit, and let's say you do this for like a couple months now, you'll come to a point in time where doing the thing, or not doing the thing rather, feels weird for you to not do rather than actually do it. So for example, whenever I have to do workouts on like my assigned workout days and I just skip it, which actually never happens, but let's say I did skip it, that would feel so weird for me, because like I have an entire routine of like, okay, I have my pre-workout meal, I do all of this stuff before the gym, and then I get into the gym, and it's like, it's just part of my life. It's just ingrained in my lifestyle. It's like my identity, it's who I am, it's what I do. Same thing with like getting my steps in. Like it'll feel weird for me, it'll feel so weird for me just to like sit on this desk all day and like just like not move my body. Like I have to get outside, I have to put on my shoes, I have to just like move my body, right? Because I've done this for such a long period of time. I've been doing this for years now, where it feels weird for me not to do, especially when it comes to eating. Like I would so much rather just eat my chicken, broccoli, and rice, or so much rather eat my protein oatmeal than have like a donut or a cookie, because I enjoy the taste. Like it makes me feel better, it makes me feel energized, it makes me feel on top of the world, rather than eating a donut, which sure may kind of like cure my instant gratification of wanting that donut in that one split second, right? But I know immediately after that I may have some guilt towards that, or that I feel the best afterwards. I may feel a bit more bloated, or my digestion may suck a bit. So all of this stuff, eating healthy, working out, getting my steps in, like it feels weird for me not to do that, right? And like I mentioned, over time, working out will become a natural part of your routine and not a chore. And that is all due to the power of consistency, because starting any new habit to begin with, there is going to be a bit of resistance there, right? Especially if it's something you've never done before, or something that's like brand new to you. Let's say exercising. It's like if you've never lifted a weight in your life before, it's like, yeah, the first day of doing that, the first week, even like the first month of doing that may feel a bit kind of like novel and a bit new to you. And there's going to be some resistance there, right? Because you're actually like literally building up a new habit. So of course it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But the more consistent that you stick to your routine, to your program, the more ingrained it'll be into your lifestyle. So especially the starting phase, like especially as you start out doing this thing, like yes, it'll be tough. But the longer you do it for, the more consistent you stay with it, not only the more results you will see, but the more lasting it'll be ingrained into your lifestyle and into your body. The second thing here is compound progress. So just like compound interest in finances, small daily efforts in fitness can lead to exponential results over time. So let's use this workout analogy for a second. So let's say you do one workout 3 times a week. Now, obviously, one workout may not seem like a huge deal, right? But if you do that consistently 3 times a week for an entire entire year, you're gonna look like a brand new person, especially if you're new to the gym. Like, yeah, you're gonna look like, obviously not like Ronnie Coleman or like any of these big bodybuilders, but you're gonna see a huge difference in your physique by simply taking 3 hours out of your week to start exercising, to start working out. And it's like, what, 1 hour of the 23 hours in a day? Like, that does not seem like a huge deal, does it? And so, but if you do that consistently 3 times a week for even like a couple months, for an entire year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 5 years, for a decade, it's like, yeah, you're going to see some phenomenal results. The exact same thing we can do with like your nutrition, with your meal plan. Eating one day of hitting your calories and macros may not seem like a huge deal, right? Like, it's like, okay, whatever. But if you do that for weeks, months, and years on end, you're going to look like a freaking machine. Same thing with like your sleep, with your steps. All of these stuffs may not seem like a huge kind of deal, but it'll kind of like compound over time and lead you to seeing the results that you want, right? And that all comes down to power of being consistent. The next thing here, and this is really, really important, and that is that it helps build mental fortitude. And so pushing through on the days that you're least motivated builds mental strength and resilience. I love this so much. This usually does not happen. And this is actually really cool because the more consistent that you stay with like your workout routine, with like your nutrition, with your diet, the less of these kind of days that you're gonna have, right? Like, I'm at the point now where I don't really rely on my motivation personally. Like, I do have the discipline, I do have my purpose and my why for doing what I am doing. But let's say, hypothetical example, that's okay, I feel lazy, I feel tired. The last thing I want to do right now is workouts. Okay, whatever. If you go to the gym regardless, because again, we are staying consistent with this, afterwards you're gonna feel so amazing after your workout, after doing something. Despite you not feeling like doing it, you're gonna feel on top of the world. You're gonna be like, oh my goodness, if I can freaking crush a leg workout despite me not feeling like it, despite me not having a good night's sleep, despite me feeling lazy, despite me feeling tired, imagine how much damage I could do to anything else I want to do in life. Like, why am I scared to approach this girl? Or why am I scared to ask my job or ask my boss for like a raise, or like for a promotion? Like, why am I scared to do any of this if I can clearly show to myself that I'm willing to suffer through a leg workout, even if I did not want to do it? And not just that, I even like hit a couple PRs too. Like, if you can show to yourself that you can do something, like go through the suck despite not really feeling motivated or feeling hyped up to do it, but you do it regardless and you crush it. I mean, oh my goodness, that's like the best drug in the world, 100%. Same thing happens when you don't feel like running, but you have to go on a run. You have to go on like a 10-mile run, let's say, for example, but it's raining outside and it's dark outside, which is quite literally what happened to me the other day. As you guys know, I'm prepping for this new marathon. Yeah, it's a new habit for me, running, and there's going to be some like friction there, right? Like, there's going to be like some friction of me like actually running and doing the thing, right? And especially the other day when it was raining, it was dark outside, I already did my workouts for the day. I just want to go to sleep, I want to go to bed, but I knew that I still had to get my run in. So I put on my shoes. It was raining so hard, but I did it regardless. And yes, it sucked in the moment. It sucked for the entire time I did it. But as soon as I got back home, I felt so good. Like, the dopamine hits, like I felt on top of the world. And so this really helps build mental fortitude. And the only reason why you kind of like build this is through the power of consistency, right? And one thing that I forgot to mention as well is that if you are consistent with anything, like, you're not going to have as many of these days. Like, sure, you're going to have days when you're going to be a bit less motivation than others, but on average, like, you're still going to do the thing, because going back to our first point, it has turned into a habit. Like, you're not really going to rely on your motivation to get the job done. Like, you know what you have to do. And it's like, whether you feel motivated or not, you just show up and do it. Like, I can't remember the last time I really felt motivated to like do a workout or to go on a run or to eat a healthy meal. Like, I'm just kind of like on autopilot. Like, of course, I still train with intent. I like progressively overload, whatever you want to call it, but I just show up anyway. Like, had a bad night to sleep, whatever, show up. Any excuse that could come up, like, I still go to the gym regardless, right? And that is all through the power of consistency. Another thing here, guys, is overcoming plateaus. The only way you can really overcome a plateau is, again, by you being consistent. Consistency helps us push through those frustrating plateaus, ensuring that we continuously improve. Plus, another thing here is that our bodies actually adapt a lot better to exercises and routines when we're exposed to them consistently, which leads to better performance in the gym. And this is why the myth of, oh, you have to shock your muscle in order to grow, this was such a common thing, I think, back in like the 80s and 90s. And it's still getting thrown around nowadays, which I think is so absurd. There's so much literature, scientific literature, showing that the shocking the muscle, you have to change up your exercises each and every week is the key to muscle growth. Like, no, that is such a big myth. And that is why, for you guys that are in the program right now, where have you made your own customized workout program, that you may notice that, yeah, you are sticking to pretty much the same exercises for at least a couple of weeks, if not months on end, right? Okay, let's say you're switching up your exercises consist each and every week. Just from a tracking standpoint, it makes it so much harder. It makes your job so much harder because let's say one week you do the bench press. Okay, awesome. The next week you do the dumbbell chest fly. Okay, great. Third week you do the incline barbell press. Okay, whatever. And then the next week, fourth week, you do the dips. Okay. It's like, yes, that'll add a great novel stimulus to your body, but how do you keep track of that? Like, how do you know if you're actually getting stronger or not? How do you know if you're actually improving or not? If you're constantly switching up the exercises week after week after week after week, it's like you're not. Like, you don't know if you're making progress or not. Not only that, like, it takes a while to actually get used to the exercise. Let's use a different example. Let's say the squats. Let's say one week you're doing the squats and it kind of feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. It feels odd. But then let's say you carry on doing the squats. Week 2, you do the squats. Week 3, you do the squat. Week 4, you add the squats. Not only will you get better at doing the exercise, you'll actually get like stronger at doing it because now you can actually track your progress. You can track your lifts. Okay, last week I did 100 pounds. Next week, let's do 105 pounds. The week after, let's do 110 pounds. Or we can add some more reps. If we do 10 reps first week, 11 reps the next week, 12 reps the week after, 13 reps the week after. Think about this. Like, sit down and write down on a piece of paper. If I were to want to become a better soccer player, would you try to shock your muscle by playing soccer one day and then basketball the next day and then baseball and maybe throw in some tennis? Maybe some water polo the day after. It's like, no, that sounds absurd. Like, of course not. Like, you have to be specific. Like, if you use that example, like, of course, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you want to be a better soccer player, you play more soccer every single day. Now, of course, you may have different drills. One day you may focus on passing. The other day you may focus on shooting. The other day you may focus on some agility stuff, like whatever it may be. Like, there's going to be like some subsections that you can focus within the game of soccer, because obviously any sport really for that matter, and there's going to be like subsections of like, okay, shooting drills, passing drills, all these other drills, right? Same thing with like your workouts. Like, you're not going to just do the squats for your quads, right? You're going to maybe throw in some leg extensions, some walking lunges, some leg press, whatever it may be, right? But if you use that same analogy of sports and put it into the bodybuilding or like weightlifting world, it's like, it sounds absurd. Like, if you want to like get better at a movement, it's like, why are you doing 4 different movements every single week? Like, if you want to get bigger legs, if you want to get better at the squats, which will therefore grow your legs, shouldn't you be doing the squats at least for a couple months on end so you can actually track your progress? Not only that, but actually get better at the movement. Because like I said, first week, any type of exercise is going to feel a bit odd, right? Let's say you took a deload week, you're super desensitized to the exercise, to the workouts. Week 1 of squats is going to feel a bit rusty, right? It's like, you're not going to be like super smooth with the exercise. Like, it's going to a bit odd. But then the second week you do it, it's like, oh, you kind of like feeling your groove, you're feeling your swagger, you know exactly where to place your feet, you know exactly like how much weight to use. Okay, amazing. Third week, it's like, oh my goodness, now I'm really feeling this. Like, I feel it in my quads, my muscle connections through the roof. I know exactly where to place my feet. I know exactly like how to do this exercise. Week 4, it's like, okay, this is it. It's like, I'm milking out as much as I can from it. My quads are actually growing. They're getting sore now. It is so good. And it's like, why would you stop that momentum? Why would you stop what's so good and just randomly, suddenly to shock the muscle at a completely different exercise? And you gonna have to completely get used to it again. Okay, so we did the squats and now we have to get used to the leg press. It's like, okay, where do I place my feet again? This feels so weird. This feels so awkward. Why am I doing this? I want to go back to the squat, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But it just drives me crazy when people tell me like, oh, you have to shock the muscle, or when people put it online. It's like, you are not that smart. Like, simply put, like, come on, man. Do some research. Anyway, to conclude this presentation, setting a regular fitness schedule holds us accountable to ourselves and our goals. So not only does it help us see the results that we want, it also helps hold us accountable, because if we know that with our consistent routine, that every single Monday it's leg day, every single Wednesday it's chest day, every single Friday it's back day, whatever it may be, like, that'll hold you accountable, because you know every single week you have certain days where you have to do certain things, right? And if you were not to be consistent with that, there's like no accountability to go with that, right? Whereas if you are consistent and you have a set schedule in place, that'll hold you so much more accountable to actually doing the thing that is required for you to see the results that you're looking for. And as always, just know that's the Barbarian Squad, or me personally, as always, right here, supporting and cheering you on for every step of the way to help you build the habits necessary to stay consistent. But all this stuff, like, it really comes down to just being consistent. If you want to get in shape, guys, you have to be consistent. If you want to see your six-pack abs, you have to be consistent. If you want to build more muscle, you have to be consistent with the actions that are required to see the results. Nothing worth having or nothing magical ever happens by just doing one thing for one day. No, it does not happen, unfortunately. Overnight success may look like overnight success, but what you don't see is all the months and years leading up to that of working in the silence, working in the dark, until eventually you get to shine in the lights. So keep in mind, there's no such thing as overnight success. It takes months, years, decades of building something worth having, right? So I'm going to let you guys go. If you have any questions for me, as always, just let me know, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.